I never want the music to stop,
I've
Brandon.
missed it. I've missed that little countdown.
Have you missed it?
Yeah, so glad to be having it
It's
back.
got a it's got a groove, doesn't it? I
It does.
just I love it. Well, here we are.
Here we
Um,
are.
it's a Martinis, Manhattans, and Maestros. First of the new year. In fact, we I think the last time we convened was in November, October. I don't know, for a game night.
It's been a
That
while.
it was like a 3-hour game night, one of those
Around that
telethons.
amount of time, yeah.
I think it just kept going. I remember talking to your parents at some point about how much they enjoy game night and just
Especially
never
the
wanted
length
it
of
to
it.
end.
Yeah,
That's a little sarcasm for you.
yeah.
Well, hey, everybody, Virginia Opera fans. We are so delighted to be with you on these platforms, whether you're joining us on Facebook or YouTube. We're so glad to see you, and we're excited to be back. This is, we've had a little pause here since the fall, and we're back, and we have some singers that just joined us about is it like 4 days ago, 5 days ago?
Just
Not
Saturday,
even.
yeah.
Yeah, Saturday, and they're in quarantine right now, but they'll be coming out of quarantine soon, and kind of joining all of us in the community for an 8-week residency. So we're really excited about it. We're going to talk to them here in a moment and get to know them better and talk about some of the activities. But the most important thing first, Brandon, is what are you drinking? What? It's a martini. What? Thank you. What do you have there, Brandon? I would like to know.
I have. I guess in spirit of yesterday.
Is that green?
Which I didn't remember was a holiday until the evening. But it contains Irish whiskey. This is a ginger whiskey, or a whiskey ginger.
Okay, with a little garnish there. We have one. We have one click that says good. Somebody liked that. I don't know.
That is good.
Well, that's nice, Brandon.
What do you have?
I'm drinking some just classic bourbon, just on ice. And in fact, I had to have the glass that says bourbon just so
you didn't forget.
I didn't want to forget. This is some Johnny Drum, which is from Kentucky, my home state, and Johnny Drum is owned by Willett Distillery. If you ever want to go to a really fabulous kind of normal, not corporate feeling distillery and do a tasting, they make amazing ryes. They have Willett rye is just top of the line, and it comes in a really cool bottle too. But the Johnny Drum is one of their bourbons. I love it.
Very nice.
And
I think you got 2 likes for that.
I got what can I say? What can I say? Well, we'll find out what everybody else is drinking here shortly, but we wanted to kind of talk quickly, just briefly about some of the things that we did this fall. There was the whole Staying Alive initiative, right? And this was a bunch of pop-up concerts throughout really the state. We were all over the place in Norfolk and Hampton Roads, everywhere here, in Williamsburg and up in Richmond, in Petersburg. I think we even went down one time.
Right.
I mean, we were all over the place, and it was in Virginia Beach too. It was fabulous. It was an amazing time to be out and about in the community, even just like with keyboard and microphones, and socially distanced. But it was a really special time. And during that time, we also had the opportunity to have a masterclass, not only one, but 2 masterclasses with basically visiting veterans of the stage. One was Grant Youngblood, a baritone, Verdi baritone, that he would have been performing Rigoletto with us last fall. And we called him. We just said, Grant, you want to come down and work with our young artists, our emerging artists, socially distanced with masks on and all that. He spent 2 days working with them. And then, and you were playing piano for all that. It was great to watch that and to have that in-person experience. And then I think about a month later, Denise Graves, actually, mezzo-soprano Denise Graves, she joined us on Zoom. It was a surreal experience, but we were in Richmond in the Gottwald Theater, which is it's a black box theater in the Dominion Energy Center downtown. And the singers and you, the pianist, were in the room, and Denise was broadcast live through a computer screen on Zoom. And I was in the corner, like, using this microphone. It was a special microphone so that because the voices can overwhelm.
Oh, sure. Much more than speaking. Yeah.
Opera voices are not meant for microphones all the time. And but they can be. But
in this case, yeah, it can be overwhelming for sure.
Right. So we kind of had to like do some on in the moment equalizing and whatnot. And she was great. 2 days with them, a group class on the second day. And at the end of the second class, in fact, I should just say, if you haven't seen the series, we actually have 8 episodes. I think the last one, the 8th episode, dropped yesterday, which we've been posting on YouTube through since February, early February. Yeah. And I think the final one just dropped yesterday. Mm-hmm. But they'll be up for the remainder of the spring. And if you're a subscriber, or you've given, I think maybe if you had a ticket with us in the fall or something, you have access to those. So just check out the links when we email you. It's a really cool series, and in fact, we wanted to feature this little clip, Brandon. There's a clip mm-hmm. from the end, the final day, when we were just saying goodbye. We were all, it was after a really good session with all 4 of the singers, and we were just saying goodbye to Denise and thanking her. And she had some words to say to all of us in the room. It was impromptu, but it was like I was touched, and I think all of us were like, "Oh my God!" So could you roll that clip?
Here it goes.
Great.
So that's it.
That's it. I could be with them every single day because it's just such an extraordinary group of young artists that I'm excited to see. I'm always excited to hear wonderful, exciting talent from people that are serious and are about, this business and getting out there and making their mark. So, and I believe that will be the case with every single one of them there. So congratulations to you and your ear for, plucking out 4 really, really fine, beautiful artists. And continue the work. The work continues, but there is so much good here. There's so much that's on the ball. There's so much that's already ready that we can put on the stage already now, But this seasoning process is important. It's important to learn to be. This conditioning process is important, even though they might be ready and the voices might be ready. It's important to have this kind of rigor and to learn who you are as a performer and to learn how to take care of your voice as a performer. When you have to get out there every time when the body doesn't want to, or when you're tired, or when you feel great, or when you have to make it happen 3 or 4 times in the same day. All of that training is invaluable for the long haul for this career. And I do believe that these are young people who are definitely career bound. I believe that.
Thank you. I believe it too. Thank you for saying it. Thank you. Thank you so much for giving them and us this opportunity. It was just such.
Well, they make me better every single time. They make me better, and they show me how to teach, and they teach me about my own voice when I work with them. So it's a real pleasure.
Thank you. And thank you, Brandon. Yeah. Okay, thank you so much.
All right, thanks so much. Bye, everybody. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Tears.
What else is there to say? I feel like there's nothing else to be said.
Nothing else to be said. And now I'm just eager for everyone to meet these fabulous people and to meet 2 of the new people that are with us as well. So, Brandon, I think it's time. Let's bring them on.
Okay, here they come.
There's a familiar face, Simone Harcum. Marissa Simmons, new to us this year. Andrew Turner, also new. Nick Martirano, welcome back. and Eric McConnell. Welcome back. Welcome and welcome back. It's so good to see all of you.
How's everybody doing tonight?
Great.
Yeah, it's good to see you. How's quarantine going?
Wonderful. You know,
Nice.
now that we've gotten gifts of wine.
Yeah.
Cheers.
By the
Cheers.
way,
I think that's a good cheers moment. Yes.
Yes.
Boom. Boom. Well, we should go around the room and just introduce yourselves. Why don't you go in vocal order and tell us your name, your hometown, and if you've been here before or if this is your first time, and then something that some of the activities that you're going to be featured in this spring. So Simone, we'll start with you and then go around in vocal order.
Okay, well, it's me. I'm Simone Harcum. I have been here before, and also I seem to be having some connectivity issues, so sorry if that's going to happen.
doing well so far.
I am, what was I supposed to say? My hometown. I was raised in Baltimore, born in Houston, Texas. This spring, I will be singing in, I guess, all of the things, singing in the trio of Trouble in Tahiti, which I'm so excited about because it's the best music.
Mhm.
And singing oboes with Adam and 8 cellos. That's really very, very exciting for me. And I think those are the big things.
Great. That's it, Simone. Thanks.
I'm
Marissa.
Marissa. I am the mezzo. I'm born and raised in Chicago, and also still in Chicago. I'm singing Dinah in Trouble in Tahiti, which is one of my bucket list roles, and I am also Pinocchio in Pinocchio.
Hey everyone, my name is Andrew. I'm a tenor and I'm from Tacoma, Washington. This is my first time here with Virginia, so I'm really excited to sing with you all and get to work with everyone. I'll be doing Geppetto in Pinocchio and the cat in Pinocchio, which I'm excited to play. And then also I'm in the trio for Trouble in Tahiti and other various things that we're doing for the season.
I'm Nick. It's good to be back and be back in Virginia. I'm originally from outside Chicago, further than Marissa, maybe like an hour outside of the city. I now live in New York City. I'll be a part of the trio with Simone and Andrew in Trouble in Tahiti. I'll be playing the wolf in Pinocchio, and then whatever else we have in store. So I'm really excited to be back and, to get back to singing and being back here. So.
And I'm Eric McConnell, the bass baritone, lowest voice, and always the last person to talk on these things. It's fine. I love it. I'm coming to you from Denver, Colorado. That's where I was born and raised, and where I most recently was. And this season, I am Sam in Trouble in Tahiti. A lot of fun there. And also Dr. Dulcamara in Pinocchio. So it's a big range of horrible people.
And you just escaped the snow.
Yeah, I did. I narrowly escaped the huge dump of snow. Yes,
Yeah.
I missed it by 2 days. It was well timed.
Yes.
It was very well timed. And of course, Eric, are you going to be in Colorado this summer?
Yes, I will be at Central City Opera this summer. So with their postponed 2021 season, I will be, which is all outdoors. It's going to be great. I'm excited.
And I think Brandon, you're going to
I'll be there
out.
as well. Yep.
You'll be there. You're the chorus master, associate conductor there now.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
Simone and Andrew, I believe you're going to be in Des Moines. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah, they're shaking their heads. Yep. Nick, Marissa, I can't remember if you had any activities coming up this summer or not.
Wait and see. Yeah. Right now my schedule's open. So.
Yeah, it's such. I mean, so many festivals are waiting until the last minute to make decisions. And I know a lot of companies right now, especially seasonal companies like Virginia Opera, we're still in the process of figuring out what's going to happen next year, and we feel very good about the direction it's going. But everybody's just kind of hanging on tight. There's light at the end of the tunnel, and it's what I heard somebody say recently, and it's not a freight train. It's actually we're gonna get. We can see we can see the end of this, and it's an exciting moment to be this close to it. So anyway, we're very hopeful. You know what? I want to. Before we get to know Marissa and Andrew a little bit better, I want to do a little review of the fall, and just so we'll come back to you, Marissa and Andrew, here in a moment. But we're going to focus in on the three that were with us. We'll see you in a moment. The three that were with us in the fall, and we want to talk a little bit about some of the highlights of the fall, some of the things that you were most excited about. But first, I want to play a short little clip, which I think really encapsulates one of the unique opportunities we had with this fall Staying Alive series with our outdoor performances. Why don't you roll the clip, Brandon?
Champagne's delicious bubbles, tra-la-la-la-la-la-la, scatters all our troubles, tra-la-la-la-la-la. It mellows politicians and betters world conditions. All diplomats and rulers should keep it in their coolers. We toast champagne, the essence of the essence, the king of effervescence, the king of effervescence. A toast, a toast, a toast. His Majesty we celebrate, celebrate, long and late, joyously together we toast Champagne the Great. His Majesty we celebrate, celebrate, long and late, joyously we drink to Champagne the Great. A toast to Champagne the Great monarch.
Oh, that hard K cutoff.
I know. Wow. It really was. It was such a bizarre. It was surreal when I was. I think I was there that time, and seeing the four of you kind of at the edge of the water there, and these canoes and kayaks going in the background. People were on paddle boats. It just was. I mean, when do you get to have that at the Opera House?
Canoes and paddle boats, yeah, not so often.
Not so often. Well, so I'm curious to hear from the three of you. What were some of the highlights for you? Maybe go around the room and just say, what were some of the highlights for you as far as some of your favorite experiences in connecting with audiences in new ways in the fall?
I think one of my favorite things was the fact that we were in these like incredible spaces that we had never been in. To bring the opera outside of the Opera House was so exciting. And to see all the new faces, people who just kind of walked by, and then you'd see them week after week after that. We made a lot of really good connections there. People were always Instagramming me and saying, "Hey, we walked by and we'll be there next week." It was very, very exciting to reach out in that way.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I would just add, I love the weekly Wednesday wind downs right outside the Opera House. I mean, just people walking by, because it's a pretty busy road, and just seeing people stop and come by. And like Simone said, all the different very cool venues that we sang at, and the people were amazing. I mean, how many times did they say, encore, keep going? They were begging us to, bring on more music, and it was just a really fun experience.
Yeah. Plus, we also there were a lot of people who had never heard opera music, who were just happened to be like walking their dog along, or when we sang at the zoo a couple times, and there were just kids there who were I remember Simone and Whitney saying "Let It Go," and this one little girl like had an entire choreographed ballet. It was incredible, and I'm glad I wasn't singing because I would have been completely distracted. But. But there was just so many. There was such a great opportunity to bring new eyes and ears to this beloved art form that may not have otherwise heard of it. So it was a really great opportunity, silver lining to, the thing that all happened.
Yes, that's such a good point. That really this gave us a chance to take opera out of the opera house and to the streets and to all throughout the state. Really, in new communities, new audiences were found. And I'm with Nick and Eric in thinking about those weekly Wednesday wind downs because Brandon played piano for most of those. Every once in a while, I'd get up there and like tickle the ivories, but I got to watch a lot of these. And on the final one, we actually had WHRO from Curate. There's a great program on WHRO local PBS in Hampton Roads that they came over and they brought a drone and they filmed over top of the lawn, and we had these socially distant circles on the lawn. And this was back, in September, October. This was still kind of early in trying to figure out, like, how can we perform in public again? What's acceptable? And the limits on social gatherings and whatnot. So seeing people drive, on their bicycles or walk their dogs or go for a jog, and they were like, what's opera? Oh my gosh. And they literally just stopped and plopped down in a circle and stayed for the concert. Really exciting times. And that leads me to, what do you think we're going to take from the fall as a lesson for the art form, and maybe some things that will stick? What do you think? What is your kind of your taste of the weather to come, the forecast to come of opera? What do you think are some of those things that we had in the fall that will stick around with us?
I think all of a sudden, doing more to, on our side, bridge the gap between who we believe is an opera fan and, who we just think are just completely uninterested, and I think the onus is much more on us as artists, to do that and to be versatile and to really, really work to first meet people where they are and what they know, and then bring them in, because it's the purpose of us singing, the purpose of our music is connection. And that is the same thing across all genres. So as artists, that's our job to, be everything.
Uh-oh.
I think I got most of that. We lost you there at the very end, but got most of what you were saying. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. Go ahead.
I would say I would go along with what Simone says. I think what was so cool about the clip that you just showed was that there were people on their kayaks, and that particular party, I think it was a donor that really loved coming to the opera, and she invited all of her friends. And a lot of those people were nationals of different countries, and they were there with NATO, and they were speaking some of the same languages as we were singing. And for me, it's all about the experience. And, the experience of going to an opera house is amazing. You have your night out at the opera, but also being outside and, being able to Instagram that, hey, I'm on the water while the sun is setting and hearing beautiful music. How cool is that? And I think that we're going to incorporate more of that in the future, and it's going to bring in more people, like Simone said.
Yeah, and I was really thinking, that it's live performance. We learned this last year, live performance, will never die. Because there is simply nothing. There is no substitute. I mean, a lot of us spent the first couple months of the pandemic, singing into our computer screens and making videos, and those were great to sort of tide us over to the next thing. But I remember that very first concert we had. With a real audience. They were, of course, distanced. It was outside. They all were in their little bubbles. It was completely COVID friendly. But having that energy kind of coming back at you and coming back to you, there is nothing quite like it. And I'm very confident that, the live performance industry, no matter if it's classical, musical theater, or straight plays, that kind of stuff, all of it is going to continue to persist because we are just so friggin' determined, and the audiences are also equally determined to be a part of it as well. It's a really unique shared experience that there's just really no alternative.
It's such a great point, Eric. And Brandon, I know you probably want to say something about it too, but I was just going to say, even with these things completely covering our faces and our connection through the voice sometimes, you can still get so much energy from the eyes. And the ears, which are a direct connection to the heart in so many ways. But the eyes, when you're a singer looking out into the audience, and even if you have a masked audience, and you just see that energy of the eyes that are focused on what you're producing, what you're trying to contribute, the story you're trying to tell, that is that's a connection that you can't get on a screen. And we've all become well accustomed to Netflix and Hulu and Amazon Prime and go down the list of things this year. And I think more than anything, what I'm missing is that in-person connection. And I can't wait for us to be back in the theater in a more controlled environment where we can, really, really get up close and personal, intimate with our audiences again. Brandon, did you want to add something?
Well, it's funny you just finished with the word intimate, because I wanted to say that one of the most interesting responses I heard from people who saw these outdoor performances and people who may have never seen opera before is that even though it wasn't in a closed space, that there was, even from 40 feet away, there was this intimacy. And I think that's something really powerful about opera, is that even though it's at some degree by design, it's supposed to be huge, that it's also this very intimate experience.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot to look forward to coming up in the spring, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. I'll ask you, the three of you, probably what you're most looking forward to in the spring a little bit later. But we have two new people that we want to introduce to everyone. And why don't we start with Marissa? Why don't we bring Marissa and do kind of a one-on-one, get to know Marissa better.
Hello.
Hey, Marissa. So this is your first time at Virginia Opera. You just joined us on Saturday. You drove down from Chicago, a 2-day drive. I've done that drive before. It's scenic. You probably went through Ohio, and it's very flat.
There were a lot of farms.
It was a lot of billboards too, depending on what part of the state you're in. So I'm just curious to know more about you. You're, as you said, you were from Chicago. You're in Chicago still, but I learned something even just yesterday about you. You're a composer. I want to hear all about that.
I wanted to ask the same thing to Marissa.
Yes,
I think that's just a fascinating perspective. Yeah,
I'm nuts, and in undergrad, I did a double music major, or basically a triple music major. So I went to the University of Miami Frost School of Music, and I studied opera, music composition, and music theory, and graduated in 4 years with all of them because I'm crazy and I never slept.
Wow.
But yeah, I've been composing since I was a little kid. My family can tell stories of me like grabbing a napkin in a restaurant and scribbling out the trumpet line of a symphony going on in my mind or whatever. Yeah.
Well, I'm curious, do you play? I mean, you're a fabulous singer and performer, and I've heard that part of your talents, but do you play any instruments? Do you play the trumpet? Do you play piano or something like that?
I play a lot of instruments. I play piano, violin, flute, piccolo, and guitar.
Wow.
Yeah, I started piano when I was about 5 years old, and then every chance I had to pick up another instrument, I couldn't say no, because that's just, I like live and breathe music. It's just always been like that for me. So yeah, I was that kid who took summer school so that I could be in both band and orchestra, and then put choir on top of it. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
That's wonderful, yeah.
Well, I'm curious, in Chicago, I heard yesterday about some of your favorite experiences in Chicago. There's an opera company that you've worked with there that I guess presents a lot of new music, a lot of contemporary work. And so I'm curious to know more about your experiences with that company and some of your, maybe a highlight or two of some of your favorite times with an experience you had there.
Sure. So the company's called Thompson Street Opera. It's run by a woman named, a person named Claire. And the entire company, their mission is to sing and perform new music by only living composers. And so oftentimes we get to actually work with the composer, which is incredible. The last show that I did with them is called I Will Fly Like a Bird. And it was written by a Canadian composer, John Plant. And it was a true story from, I want to say, like 2007, of a man who was immigrating to Canada from Poland, and he unfortunately never made it out of the Canadian airport. He was tased to death by the police in the airport. And so this opera was telling that story, and I played that character's mother. Wow. And the music was just the type of music that, you know, stabs you right in the heart, sure. You know? But I think the thing that I loved so much about it is that it was, I know it was really difficult for people to watch, but it was a story that, you know, needs to not be forgotten and has a very clear and obvious purpose in how we can make changes in our world and how music can be a major part in that.
That's fascinating. And so much of, I love the fact that this is a contemporary story, as heartbreaking as a story this must be to tell and to portray on the stage. It just shows that there are so many stories that are in present day. You know, this is they're relevant, that opera is not something about kings and queens and gods and demons, and it's about so much more. Even when those stories might relate to a modern day issue that we're faced with, some kind of challenge. This story, that's really incredible. You know, I'm curious, as a composer, have you written an opera? And if you haven't, or if that's something like that's a bucket list, I'm also curious to know, are there any composers that you identify with? You know, that these are the composers you feel most aligned with, sympathetic compositional styles or something?
So when I was a kid, one of my biggest mentors, Gary Fry, another composer, he gave me one piece of advice, which I have carried through everything musically in my entire life and still do, which was to make sure that I was well-rounded as a musician and well-rounded in my composition portfolio. And so he was like, if you've never played a certain instrument, if you've never written for it, then do it. You know, so I've written tons and tons of very different types of pieces, everything from like a cappella works to full symphony orchestra or violin concertos or cello trios, saxophone quintets, you know, all sorts of different things. Of course, the one thing I have not written is an opera. I have written, I've written operatic style song cycles and things like that, though.
Well, you have an entire life in front of you, and I am so excited to get to know this other aspect about Marissa Simmons. Brandon and I were in New York City, probably it's been 2 years ago now.
It's been a while, yeah.
It's been a while, but you know, usually we're up in New York in December in normal times. And we're in this tiny little room with an upright piano that's about 20 feet away, as far away as you can get it. And these complete strangers that we've seen resumes and kind of pre-screened, so to speak. The first wave, they show up and they whisk in for 8 minutes, and we're introduced to their voices, and it's just a daunting task. I think even Opera America did a panel this week about demystifying the opera audition. Right. What that's all about, and it's just such a challenge. But anyway, I remember Marissa's audition. I remember that sound, and just immediately connecting with it and saying, I want to know this person better.
Right.
Do we have anything for this person to sing? Like, how can we make it happen? And and of course it was in the works, and then COVID happened, but now you're here, and we've got some exciting things coming this spring for you. So I'm so excited for our community to get to know you better, and to see you next week for a coaching behind the screen in a mask.
Yes.
Yeah. So Marissa, welcome.
Thank you.
Good to have you
and
here.
we'll be joining you again here shortly. And now we're going to meet Andrew. And Andrew Turner is I know that happens to be his last name. That's all I'm going to say. We're connected in some way.
Some way.
Andrew,
Some way.
your middle name. You were saying your middle name is it's an R. It's Robert, right?
Is Robert.
And
yeah.
and my middle name is Christopher. So I act and you're the art.
Yes.
Something's off here. You're the actor and the artist. So I'm just, I got the wrong initials. I don't know. Anyway.
I think they're wonderful. Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Well, Andrew, we are so thrilled to have you here. I would love to just tell a quick story on Andrew, because we did digital auditions this year, virtual auditions for the very first time for Virginia Opera. And Brandon and I went through, how many applications did we get? 600, 700, something like that?
692.
You remember the number. It was a lot, but we went through every single one of those videos and resumes and references, and it took a long time, many days. But anyway, Andrews was there, and we loved it, and we invited him for a final round. So he had to submit some more videos, and then we actually said, you've done the semifinals, and now we really want to know more about you. We want to do an interview. And so like a little 10, 15-minute interview to just make sure that they're a human being, like, are you real?
Yeah.
You're not a computer person.
A robot person.
A robot, yeah. And so, we set up a Zoom time and made it work. And he was on the West Coast and we were over here. And so he dials in and the Zoom screen pops up, and he's in the driver's seat of his car with the seatbelt. And we both were like, "Oh God, is he driving? Pull over! Pull over! Pull over!" So Andrew, tell us about that experience.
Oh my God!
What is it like to interview while driving?
So
you weren't driving.
I wasn't driving. I was not driving. It was actually my first day of work at Trader Joe's, and so I just, sometimes when the time zone, I've lived in maybe 3. And so I was like, oh yeah, it's this time. And then I look at it and I'm like, nope, it's actually this time. And so I'm like, all right, so I cannot cancel this. We cannot reschedule. And my mind was like, you know what? We're just going to do the best we can here. So I drove a good halfway to my job, pulled over, and then here we are. And I was like, you know what? I am dedicated. I am going to still have this interview and get to work on time. So
it left a very distinct impression. That's what I will say.
Never forget it.
I will never forget it. It was so fun. So Andrew, tell us more about your experience. You're from the Seattle, Tacoma, Washington area.
Yeah.
And tell us about growing up there and how you found music, how you found singing, and ultimately opera.
I grew up, so I was born in Tacoma, Washington, and I have a musical family. My grandmother is a pianist. She grew up in around the 50s, around the 50s and 60s, and she wanted to be a concert pianist. She wanted to get into classical music, and during those times, unfortunately, she didn't have the opportunity. But she always stayed playing music. She learned music from her mother or her grandmother, her mother and her grandmother taught her mother. So we always had music in the family. And when I was 4 in Tacoma, we had an upright in our living room. And my grandma told me, and I also remember, just going up to the piano and just plunking it out, just figuring out what's going on there. And my grandmother would see, and she's like, okay, we'll see what's happening. And then she was like, play this and play this. It'll just be notes. It wouldn't be like a whole song. It would be like small notes, and I would listen, hear, and then play it back. And she was like, okay, so you like playing piano, or at least like you can. And so she taught me how to play piano when I was young. And then I moved to Memphis, Tennessee a little bit, and I played for a lot of churches, a lot of gospel churches at a young age. And so I didn't learn classically. I was not classically trained, but I did learn how to play by ear, which helped a lot in ear training in undergrad and grad school. But so with that being said, when I went to undergraduate school, I did a lot of singing in between. I sang in churches and things like that. And I used to think that singing was just going to be a hobby for me. And then when I was in high school, I got into choir, got into concert choir like my junior year. And my teacher, encouraged me to keep singing choir in undergrad. And I was like, okay. So I auditioned for concert choir in undergrad at Washington State University. And my then teacher, which I didn't know who would be my teacher, I auditioned for her, and she was like, what do you want to study again? And I said, communications and broadcasting. Andrew, there you go. And she was like, that sounds great, and I want you to be as open-minded as possible, but you should try this class and try this class. And they were like music major related classes. And I just fell in love with it. And I think what really got me into opera and operatic singing was actually art song. I started singing Schumann, and I started understanding text and how music and text were related. And I started connecting emotionally, mentally, not physically, but mostly mentally to the text. And I was like, I'm in love with this. This is like something I want to do. And at that time, I was a music education major, and I flipped over to being a music performance major. And then I started doing Nats, and I started,
I said that's the story of many of us.
Right.
Yeah.
On the screen.
Actually, on this screen.
Yeah, fact, that's what I mean. Yeah.
But then I started doing competitions. We did Nats, and I would start placing, and then I applied to grad school. And so, like, I think once I got into grad school and I got scholarship to go, that was when my mind was like, oh, okay, like, you can sing this. Like, this is it. So that's how I got into it. Yeah.
Well, and you just came to us you were in Des Moines, actually. So I'm not sure the activities you had in the fall, maybe because of COVID, you weren't able to perform anywhere. Most of us weren't able to, but I know that Des Moines, you were supposed to have been there last summer, and they have some kind of a touring, a statewide, or I don't know if it's statewide, but it's at least area wide in Indianola and Des Moines.
Yeah.
They have a program. And didn't you just work on a Rusalka or something like that?
Yeah. So I've been working with Des Moines for a year or two, actually. It's been a couple years. And they asked me to come back and sing Rusalka. It's called The Littlest Mermaid. It's a children's opera. And it's based off of or adapted from Rusalka, the opera. And
the Dvorak opera, which is
the Dvorak. Yes. Mm-hmm. And of course there are cuts and everything. There's a lot that you cut. But yeah, we filmed it for children, and now it is I think it's been actually today was the day that it was published online, or at least announced online that it can be what's the word?
Streamed or something like that.
Streamed, yes.
Yeah,
and anyone. It was focused for K through 12 schools, but or K through probably 4 or 5, but it is available for anyone to see. And so yeah, that was a great opportunity to work with Des Moines for.
Well, we'll have to look for it. We'll see if we can find the link and share that with some of our fans too, and so that they can see you in this, because I want to see it too. I want to see this. The Dvorak version of The Little Mermaid, tweaked for young people.
Yeah.
That's really exciting. Well, we're so happy to have you with us and to welcome you to Virginia, and look forward to getting you out in the community and meeting our audiences. And let's bring everybody else back into the room, Brandon. So it's the whole gang. There they are. Well, we're so thrilled that the 5 of you are here with us for these 8 weeks, and you have this week of quarantine, and then you start coaching and doing some musical rehearsals and whatnot next week. And then we have a series of projects. In fact, I thought I would just quickly share on the screen for our audiences just a sense of what the spring season is going to be all about. Of course, that's our very colorful floral graphic that I love so much. It's very spring. Of course, the spring season, it came out of, when we had to cancel our main stage in the fall, and eventually also cancel whatever we were planning to do on the main stage in the spring. Peggy Dye, our general director, and I started talking, and the rest of the staff, we all started kind of brainstorming. Well, we've got to do something. We want to still be out and be contributing and serving our community as best possible. And so we came up with the following, which we're really excited about, and that is our spring season for 2021. And of course, if you've been following your emails and going on YouTube, you've of course seen the masterclass series with Denise Graves, which has been an 8-week series of episodes that'll be with us for the rest of the spring, that you can watch at any time. And these are really fabulous opportunities to peek behind the curtain, so to speak, of what it's like to learn how to sing, learn how to inhabit a role, learn how to perfect diction of Italian, German, French, all these different languages that opera singers have to perform in, and to really work with an artist of just international renown. Denise is so giving of her time, and I learned so much just sitting there watching these sessions. And I've gone back and watched all the videos too, and continue to glean new lessons from all of those. So I highly encourage you to seek those out and to watch them while they're still available this spring. We're going to be filming a production that we're calling Cabaret with Us. And this is really your chance to break out the glass of bourbon or a martini or a glass of wine and sit down for a short program that will feature these 5 artists singing selections from the American Songbook, from the world of Broadway musical theater, and perhaps some surprises along the way. And we're kind of thinking about this as a form of escape. All of us, what are we missing so much right now? For me, I'll be honest with you, it's travel. I have missed, right, Brandon? Taking a vacation and going to some exotic location, getting on an airplane or a bus or a train and just going somewhere and out of my home. And so this cabaret kind of has the theme of escape from home, take a vacation, go on a trip, travel, journey. So let that be kind of a lens on what we're planning for that. Then we see Leonard Bernstein's Trouble in Tahiti, which is a wonderful one-act opera, about 45 minutes long. It's all over the map emotionally. It's happy, it's sad, it's funny, it's awful, it's painful, it's hysterical. I mean, you're going to feel all of the emotions.
And the music is the same way. It comprises all of those internal emotions as well.
It absolutely does. And I think it's jazzy, but I also think it's very rhapsodic and romantic and anguished. And it's a very, very interesting piece. And I've wanted us to be able to present it at Virginia Opera for quite some time. There happens to be the right orchestration and the right 5 people here before you to perform the roles. And so we'll be performing that, co-presented with the Virginia Arts Festival, one of our partners in the community here in Hampton Roads, with musicians of the Virginia Symphony Orchestra. We'll be on the stage of the Bank Street Stage, which is downtown. It's an outdoor theater. So get tickets now. Go online to either vaopera.org or the Virginia Arts Festival website to get tickets because this is going to sell out. We have 4 performances, and I know it's going to sell out. So you're going to want to get those tickets as soon as possible. We're also presenting a performance in Richmond with details coming, but that'll be shortly before. We're hoping with the Richmond Symphony Orchestra. So stay tuned for more details about that. And then later in the spring, actually early summer, June, we'll say early June, which is still part of the spring, we're hosting a virtual gala, which will also feature these 5 fabulous artists performing kind of the hit arias and ensembles of opera, and also featuring Simone Harcum with 8 cellos in a piece. It's that if you've ever heard this piece, Bacchiatus Brasileiros No. 5 by Villalobos, it is stunning. It's so beautiful. 8 cellos. When have you ever seen 8 cellos, just 8 cellos on stage with a solo soprano? You're going to want to attend this gala so you have the opportunity to see this and hear Simone sing this beautiful, beautiful music. And then our virtually amazing opera, which is our educational programming. We, of course, filmed The Princess and the Pea in the Fall, which is an opera by our very own Glenn Winters. And that was filmed in the fall and has been provided to schools and families across the state since, I think, late November, early December. It's been out there and kind of spreading around the state. So that's available all spring, continuing. We're also going to be filming a production of Pinocchio coming up here shortly by John Davies. It features kind of the hit tunes of opera set to the story of Pinocchio. So you won't want to miss that. And also we continue to have brain breaks and other activities that you'll see virtually, perhaps another Martinis and Maestros at some point, or a game night, or all kinds of things. And we'll be doing pop-up events throughout the community. So you're just going to have to stay tuned, folks, because there's a lot of stuff coming in the month of April, May, and June. So with that, I'll stop sharing my screen, bring us back on. Did we lose? Oh, we lost Simone.
We lost her soprano.
Oh,
no. Let's get her back.
She tried to blip in.
Brandon, you got it? Yeah. There's
fell
Simone, did you?
She fell out.
She fell out. She fell out. Simone. So as we wind down here, folks, we're so delighted we've had the opportunity to meet the 5 of you and introduce you or reintroduce some of you to Virginia Opera fans. Just in a brief word or two, give me a little synopsis of the thing you're most excited about this spring before we sign off. And we'll go in vocal order, Simone. Sorry,
well,
Eric.
It's fine.
Here I am. Well, so what I'm most excited about is really Trouble in Tahiti and working with Kyle Lang again. Very excited about Kyle Lang. Very excited. Yes, very excited about being in the trio, working with Kyle Lang, because I know we're going to have some cool dance moves.
So true. So true.
Almost guaranteed. Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm more excited about one or the other. I mean, I am just in love with the music in Tahiti, but as most people who know me know, I love being a little boy on stage. It's so much fun. So I'm excited about that too.
Yeah, I mean, oh, sorry.
Wow, Nick.
Nick, are you a tenor now?
We were talking about the fall, and I was always the third, and yeah, sorry.
Andrew, go ahead.
I was gonna say I'm really excited just to work with everyone. Like seriously, I've gotten to know a little bit about everybody virtually and our personalities, and I really think it's just gonna be a good group of people just making music and creating some really good art.
I was going to say the same thing. I'm excited to be back on stage, performing with you guys, doing coachings with both Adam and Brandon, and working with Kyle. And it's great to be back and be back on stage and see people in the community.
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback off of that. I think absolutely my number one most excited thing is Tahiti, of course. That'll be my first role on a stage since November of 2019. It's like I've performed obviously since then, but it'll be I'm inhabiting another person. And Sam is such a unique role. It's a short opera, obviously, but this role is fraught with challenges. It's a big challenge, but with big challenges come great development and growth. Really looking forward to developing and growing.
I'll jump in here, Eric, so you're not the last one. And I'll just say live rehearsal. I mean, I'm just really excited to not be in front of a computer. Not to be making music just by myself at the piano or studying alone in a room, but working with these really, really talented and wonderful and really these are really fun people that I've gotten to know over just the last few days. So really looking forward to working with them live.
Agreed on all fronts. This is going to be a fun time. It's going to be a restorative time. In some ways, I feel like we're getting our art back, and it's slowly but surely happening. Our partners in the community, Virginia Symphony Orchestra, they just started playing again for the first time since COVID shut everything down last month. They've just started back in February, and it's been so touching and moving to see the musicians on the stage. They are 10 feet apart. They've got their circles. They're 10 feet apart, but they're making music and doing what they can, and we're doing what we can, and we're going to get back into the theater in the fall. It's going to happen, and people are going to get vaccinated because they're going to listen up and get it done. And
because they want to come back to the theater.
Because they want to sit in the theater alongside their friends and family and loved ones. And we as I said before, we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. And you know what? I will drink to that. Here's a toast to getting back to normal and being back on stage. Woohoo!
L'chaim.
L'chaim, that's right. So I think to shut it down, my favorite thing to do is, Simone provided this wonderful
Daily Double.
I think that was the one.
That was a mistake. That was a mistake. It may have been intentional. I don't know.
Don't give away your secrets.
I'm not sure, but no. Simone. We did a game night last fall in which we all picked singers, and like guess that aria, guess that singer. Who do you think it is? And Simone had a special one that I just feel like it's. Yeah.
I'd like to relive it.
Always.
Well. I want to relive it, and I think that's gonna be our send off. So thank you for joining us, Virginia Opera family, fans, all of you on Facebook and YouTube. Thanks for joining us, and stay tuned to those platforms for more details about coming activities and the ways that you can see the fabulous five. Okay.
Alliteration.
Wait.
Oh, he's gonna make a banner.
Alliteration. There we go.
It would come up at some point. Yeah.
At some point, it was coming up. Okay, so to take us out, here she is, Aretha.
So, Andrew, I have to ask, Andrew, have you ever taken that optional cadenza?
I would no one is actually ever, if that aria ever came into my pocketbooks, I would probably get this demolished. So
Something's coming. Something's coming. I don't know what it is.
Bernstein,
But it's going to be that. It's going to be that. Okay. Well, thank you, Aretha, for giving us that send off. And thank you, all you beautiful 5 fabulous people. We will be seeing you again soon.
Yeah.
So, signing off. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.